Thank you. So I guess in the last class, what we had looked at was the general concepts, and this particular part, which defines the general characteristics of the Mendel's experiments, that we had not done, right? Can someone again please confirm this part? Have we finished it? Or do you remember or no? Anyone? Anyone?
No, sir.
Okay, so then in that case, we can start with this particular part. Perfect. So again, if I have to go back to the earlier slides, we had looked at what are the different monohybrid crosses. We looked at what is genotype, phenotype, gene, allele, and all those concepts, dominant, recessive, right? Now we are actually going to look at the application of all these concepts in genetics, like where are they being used, what do they mean exactly, and so on. And to do that, we are going to take help of these Mendel's experiments. And like I said, this fellow, Gregor Mendel, he was present between 1822 to 1884. So that time, like in the 18th century, he did all these experiments, and that time he established the basis of genetics, which is like really, really excellent. So as we already know few of the facts, he experimented on the pea plant that is called as Pisum sativum, which is the biological name or scientific name of that particular plant. And the reason why he chose this particular plant was because of three main reasons. Of course, there are several other reasons, but these were the three main reasons. And what are they? First one, this variety or this particular plant is available in many varieties with alternative forms of character. Now, what does it mean by alternative forms of character? If you remember the table that I had shown you earlier, this one, yeah, it says for one particular character, let's say seed shape, there are two possible characteristics available, like round or wrinkled, and same is the case with seed color and so on, right? So for each particular characteristics, there were two alternatives forms that were available, and that is why that was one of the reason why Mendel chose this Pisum sativum plant. Second reason, the varieties were available in the pure form that bred true. Now, what does a pure form means? Pure form means both the alleles in a particular individual plant, they were of the same nature. For example, I will again go back to this chart. It says, let's say there is a possibility that a particular plant is round and it has two alleles which are coding for the seed shape, that is either round or wrinkled. It can have either both alleles predicting round or both alleles predicting wrinkled, or one allele from round and the other from the wrinkle. Three possible options. That is homozygous dominant. That is homozygous dominant means both alleles are same. That is both alleles, they are denoting round. Homozygous recessive, that means both allele are same, but they are of recessive type, that is wrinkled. And heterozygous, that means both alleles are different, that means either like one is round and the other one is wrinkled. So that way, like again, these alleles, they are referring to the copies of chromosome they are receiving from the mother and father, that half set of chromosome. They individually for a particular gene will be called as allele. So this is particular character which is being expressed by a gene, that is seed shape, can be round, can be wrinkled. It can be homozygous dominant, that means both allele which are coming one from mother and one from father, both of these genes or both of these alleles, they will show round, that is homozygous dominant. both of the alleles, they will show homozygous recessive, that means both wrinkled, and heterozygous, that is one round and one wrinkled. So these were the three possible combinations. And why did Mendel choose this Pisum sativum is because these varieties, whatever number of characteristics are there, they were available in purest form. That means either homozygous dominant, that is round, or let's say, for example, pod color, it can have both the alleles for this green color of the pod, or it can have a plant which produces the pod color only yellow, and in the generations. I hope you are able to understand this particular part. What I mean, I will quickly explain it over the board in just a minute. Let me spotlight. So I hope you are already aware of few things. So we know, I guess in last class we had seen this. Let's say we talk of round, which is dominant, yeah, and it will be denoted by capital R. And let's say small r, that is wrinkled C, and that is a recessive phenomenon, right? Now, when we have allele present in a particular plant, it can be homozygous. Now, you have to remember, homo means same, right? So, same zygous, that means same alleles. It can be either capital RR or it can be small rr. Both alleles, they are same. If this is one individual, this is other individual referring to individual plant. So in this individual, this is, let's say, this is coming from mother, this is coming from father. Both alleles are same. Same goes here. One is coming from mother, the other one is coming from father. Both are same. So both alleles are same, so they are homozygous. Now, depending on whether it is homozygous round, that is homozygous dominant, because round type of seed is dominant phenotype because it always gets expressed. So homozygous dominant or homozygous recessive, because R, small r, that is for wrinkled seed, and that is a recessive. So homozygous recessive, homozygous dominant. These are called as purest breed. That means if you cross this plant, if you allow them to fertilize with the same type of other plant which also has same phenotype, that is capital RR to cross with capital RR, both are homozygous dominant, it will always produce all the seeds which are round. It will never produce a wrinkled seed. Same goes here. When this RR is produced with the same allele, right? That is all are wrinkled seed here. Their offsprings will always produce the wrinkled seed. They will never produce the round. Yeah, that is what is meant by the purest breed. Again, one more example I will give you, not related to this. I guess I had mentioned about some, let's say, that Indo-Aryan race. Now, in case of that Indo-Aryan race, what usually happens is those people, they have blue eyes, like height, like a lot of height in that particular individual. This I am talking about the human. So white skin color, blonde hair, and blue eyes, for example, right? And a tall feature of the body. Now, in all these three or four characteristics, if they are interbred, so let's say a male from this Indo-Aryan race is breeding with a female or is having a sexual intercourse to produce the offspring with a female from the same race who also has white skin, blonde hair, blue eyes, and a tall feature. they will have a child who will also have the same feature. So that is what a pure breed means. Like if you are having the breeding with the same individual, that is what means by the pure breed. So with respect to the Pisum sativum, there was also this presence of the pure breed, and that was the second reason why Mendel chose this particular variety. So first was alternative forms of the character. That means for one character, seed shape, seed color, or whatever it is, there were two different forms available and not many. Many would have caused another problem, but there were alternative forms. That means there were two forms available for one character, and it was available in the pure form that will breed true. That is, they produce the same type of individual generation after generation. I hope these 2 points are clear. Again, if you have any doubt, please do stop. Yes, Akshay has question.
So normally in nature, so these pea plants only have homozygous alleles.
No, not necessarily. They do have what you say heterozygous alleles.
Okay.
So what he is trying to say is there are different types of alleles already present, but out of this there are few which are in pure form, and that we
Okay.
have, like let's say for example, you want to identify, you have let's say 10 varieties of the seeds of Pisum sativa, right? And then you want to identify which one is a true breed and which one is not a true breed. What will you do? You will intercross or you will crossbreed like this. You will just sow the seed. You will check what are they generating in the next generation. Correct? And then you keep doing this in an isolated compartment. If they produce generation after generation the same type for one particular phenotype, let's say flower color, if one particular seed of the pea plant is producing always white flowers, that means it's a purest breed. But again, that cross hybridization or cross pollination should not happen. So that's why I said isolated compartment.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so these were the 2 points, and the third reason why Mendel chose this particular plant is because they are normally self-pollinated. Self-pollination can happen when the uh, male reproductive stamen and female reproductive structure called carpel, that is your style, stigma, and ovary in the flower, they are present in the same plant. So they can be self-pollinated, or they are present on the same plant. If not in the same flower, there can be a male flower on the same plant and female flower. Mostly, like you all have seen hibiscus, that the topmost part is your style and stigma, the tube is stigma, and at the bottom of the flower there is ovary. And this yellowish part that you see, they are the male reproductive structure, what we call them as anthers or pollen grains. Everyone knows that. So either they can be present on the same flower or on the same plant. That if it is on the same plant, that means male and female flowers will be different, but will be present on the same plant. If it is the same flower, that means both the sexes, they will be present within the same flower structure. So in all of that, those cases, the self-pollination can happen. Self-pollination is the own gamete fusing with the own female gamete, like own male gamete will fuse with the self female gamete. That's what will lead to the self-pollination. But this self-pollination, if at all it has to be avoided, that can be prevented by removing the corresponding reproductive part. Let's say now I want to do cross-pollination and I don't want to do self-pollination. So in that case, I can remove a particular part of the male reproductive structure, what is called as stamen. Or let's say I want to remove a female reproductive structure, that is carpel. In both of these cases, it was possible. And that was third reason why Mendel chose this particular plant. That means experiment wise, if you want to breed the pure variety, self pollination was possible. But let's say I want to breed this homozygous dominant and homozygous recessive, which is cross pollination. I would need to cross two different plants of two different alleles. Now, in that case, I will have to remove their own one of the reproductive structure. Mostly it is male reproductive structure, because if you remove the female reproductive structure, which is ovary, you will not get the seeds in the next generation. That is, I hope that is like kind of like common statement, I would say. Right, so male part, that is stamens, are usually removed, and that particular process is called as emasculation, something related to masculine, and e, that means removal, so that is emasculation, that means removal of the stamen, and that is how it allows self pollination as well as cross pollination whenever required. So these are the three main reasons for Mendel to choose the Pisum sativum plant. Anyone has any doubt here? Okay, so then the rest of the things we had already seen. So Mendel took varieties of this pea plant showing 7 pairs of contrasting character. So he did all the possible combinations and permutation combinations of the 7 pair, and then he did various experiments with it. Mendel crossed pure breeding variety, that means they produce same seed or same variety throughout the generation. That's what is pure breeding. He crossed pure breeding varieties first by taking only one feature at a time. One feature at a time. That means a plant might have, let's say, I'll go back to this slide so it will be clear again. Let's say I am going to take only one particular character, that is flower color. Can be either purple or white. But let's say purple flower can have green pod or can also have yellow pod. That is, these are two different characters now on the same purple flower bearing plant. But I'm not looking at the second character. I'm ignoring it. I'm just looking at one character at a time, that is purple, the color of the flower, and it is purple or white. Yeah. Same goes with white flower. That means if I'm studying for the flower color in genetics, that is generation after generation, I will not bother about what are the different characteristics. Are they same? Are they different? No. If I'm looking at flower color, I'm only looking at the flower color of that particular generation. So that is what is meant by Mendel cross pure breeding varieties. Let's say white flower with white flower or purple flower with purple flower, and taking only one characteristic feature at a time, that is the flower color. Then he did not bother about the seed color or seed shape or pod shape and so on. So that is one characteristic at a time, and this particular type of cross is called as monohybrid cross. And when he took two different characters or two features together, that is called as dihybrid cross. Now, for example, again, let's say I'm taking the same example of flower color, and I am also taking the example of seed color. Now, these are the two different characteristics that I am studying. So, possible combinations there are purple flower with yellow seed, purple flower with green seed, same again, white flower with yellow seed, and white flower with green seed. So, there are 4 possible combinations of the alleles that will be present. In this case, otherwise in monohybrid cross, there will be only one trait, one flower, or sorry, one same allele. In this case, in dihybrid cross, there will be various possible combinations, especially 4 possible combinations which are available. Again, we will see this when we go to the monohybrid cross and dihybrid cross. So if this is not clear here, it will get more clarity in the upcoming slide. But what it means is, monohybrid cross studying only one particular characteristic at a time, and dihybrid cross, you take any two of these. You can take pod shape and pod color, or you can take seed color and pod shape, or any two randomly of these two characteristics, but only two characteristic at a time, like that is dihybrid cross, and monohybrid cross, only one characteristic. Trihybrid, tetrahybrid, these are again possible, but that is very, very complex. You imagine you taking 4 characteristics to study, and you have 64 possible varieties, which is very difficult to study at a time. So instead, Mendel chose to go slow by like step by step and very slowly, and that's when he did monohybrid and dihybrid crosses. And he tried with all the 7 features. So that means the monohybrid cross and dihybrid cross, all the possible combinations with all the 7 features. And his observations were similar for all. That means, irrespective of the character that he took, whatever next generation showed Mendel was same for different types of feature. That's what it means by the last statement. Okay, so I hope that part is clear. And now I will move on to the actual Mendel's experiment, what exactly he did, and we will see in 3 different cases for the monohybrid cross, because this is kind of very important topic in terms of understanding our own genetics, plus understanding this topic of what we say the Mendel's experiment with respect to inheritance. So case 1, I will be showing you different diagrams, plus I will draw this on the board so that we have enough practice of this and enough understanding as well. So in case 1, a pure breeding plant. Now I hope what you have understood pure breeding plant is. So a pure breeding plant bearing a terminal flower was cross-pollinated with a pure breeding plant having axillary flower. Now, here is the diagram on the top left corner, which shows you what do you mean by terminal and axillary flowers. Terminal means at the end of the branch of the tree. At every end of the branch, there will be flower and nowhere in between. And axillary means at every junction of the branch from where the leaf is arising, there will be a flower. So these were the position of the flower in terms of as a characteristics, and it had 2 alternative forms, that is terminal flower and the axillary flower. And these were the pure breeds that he took. So terminal flower, when it was crossed with self, will always produce terminal flower. Axillary flower, when it was crossed with self, that means axillary flower with axillary flower, it will always produce the axillary flower. That was the pure breed. So he took one of terminal, one of axillary, and he cross-pollinated. That is cross-breeding. Axillary flower with terminal flower. And then he looked for what are the offsprings coming into picture. So the resulting seeds of this cross pollination or this crossing of terminal with axillary, what he found was, after sowing the produced after sowing the seeds of the produced I don't know what I'm saying. So the resulting seeds which were produced from this parent, that is parent refers to the terminal flower and the axillary flower, the seeds were sowed into the soil, and they produce all the plants with axial flowers only. So that means in the next generation, though there was a terminal flower and axial flower, all of the offsprings in the next generation, they all showed the axial flower. We will see this in the diagram, that representation, it will become more clear. So in the F1 generation, that is from parent to the next generation, that is called F1 generation, none were bearing the terminal flower and all of them there were axial. What do you think could be the reason here? Just a wild guess, anyone?
Sir, because the axillary flowers are dominant.
Simplest, right? So because axillary flower characteristics or that particular allele would be dominant, so even if there is a terminal flower allele present in that particular flower, it will not allow to be expressed. So all of the flowers, they will form axial flowers. So that's what happened in F1 generation. Now when this F1 generation, now whatever he has received is axial flowers, that he self-pollinated. Now, remember, first was cross-pollination between or cross-breeding between terminal and axial. Now, whatever was generated in F1 generation, all these axial flowers, that he self-pollinated. This is like crossing the same type of individual with its own either male or female reproductive structure. So that is what is self-pollination. And they obviously produce then F2 generation, that is the grand son or granddaughters or grand generation of the this from the parent, and of the F2 they will be of F1 they will be the offspring. So parent, they produce F1 generation and they produce F2 generation. So these F2 generation plant, they produced axillary flower and plants with terminal flower. That means they again produce both of these traits which were present in the parent generation in the ratio of 3:1. How? We will see that now. So I hope this diagram is visible on your screen. Now imagine there was this pure breed of axial flowers and a pure breed of terminal flower. That means when they were self-pollinated, they will always produce terminal. When these were self-pollinated, they will always produce axial. But when they are cross-bred, that is axial with terminal crossing with each other, they will produce certain gametes. Now, because both the alleles are same, they will produce only an gamete which has one one of the gamete or both the gametes that will be produced, they will be same. That is only with capital A. There are no difference of the allele. So homozygous individual will always produce only one single type of allele. That is here in this case, it is with axial flower characteristic. And same is the case here with terminal flower characteristic, that is small a. Now, by the writing pattern itself, you should have realized that A is dominant phenotype, small a, that is terminal flower, is the recessive phenotype. Now, when this F1 generation was produced from crossing of these two, that is axial flower with terminal flower, there were all the four possible combination, which I'll show you on the board and also is being shown here, will produce axial flowers, right? Because they will always have one from one parent, that is capital A, and the other from the other parent, that is small a. All the four possible combinations, either this gamete with this gamete, this gamete with this gamete, in all of those possible permutations and combination, it will all produce the same heterozygous individual expressing axial flower characteristics, right? Now, when these were self-pollinated, that means capital A small a crossed with capital A small a. So these same generation from F1, the self-pollination was done. So that is what same self-pollination means, same alleles, they were crossed. Now here, because alleles are different, they will produce capital A small a, and this other parent will also produce capital A small a. Based on the possibility of combination, that is this A, capital A fusing with the other capital A from the other parent, will produce homozygous dominant, that is axial flowers. When this capital A will fuse with the other gamete of the other parent, that is capital A small a, that is one. Then this small a, which is the other gamete of the first parent, with the first gamete of the second parent, so capital A small a, and then this other combination, that is small a fusing with small a, that is homozygous recessive. So you see the difference between F1 generation, what were the offspring produced, and in the F2 generation, what were the offspring produced. Now, this I will try to explain on the board, because here it might be difficult to like look at the different possible combinations. So I will draw those on the board. Try to follow it as closely as possible so that you will have more clarity. So just a moment. We can see this on part. Okay, so let's say again we have axial flowers, that is capital A as Alice. This is homozygous dominant, right? Cross braid with terminal flowers, and that will be a small a, small a. This will be homozygous recessive, correct? Homozygous dominant, homozygous recessive. Now, even if it produces, let's say this will produce two gametes, right? One meiosis division produces four gametes, but in this case, we are only talking of two gametes because out of four gametes, they are all same. If it is a male, if it is a female, they will produce same type of gametes. But that happens in case of humans because we have XY chromosome different. In plants, they don't have that separation. So in this case, again, this will produce these two gametes, right? This does not mean when this plant will produce the gamete, it will have only this as the genes, or this as the chromosome, or this as the allele. Obviously, all other genes, all other chromosomes, they will be present. So, for example, let's say this has 46 chromosome or 50 chromosome, because we don't know how many number of chromosomes are there in the pea plant. At least I don't know. So let's say there are 50 chromosomes. So what it will do is it will produce 25 plus A and 25 plus A, right? That is distributing the alleles into maternal and paternal, or separating the chromosomes into half. So it will be 25 plus A, 25 plus A. We are not writing that 25 in any of the cases because they will ultimately match up at the end. Same goes here. It will produce small a in one of the gamete, and in other gamete it will produce again the small a because homozygous. So same gametes. Now these are crossed, right? These were crossed. That means this is same as this crossing. It just I'm writing symbol. Now what happens is, let's say this gamete fuses with this gamete. One gamete from one parent can fuse with the only one gamete from the other parent. These two will not fuse again because they are from the same person. Like male sperm cannot fuse with the male sperm, right? It can only fuse with the female ova. Something similar. Let's assume one of them is male and one of them is female. That means it will need the gamete from the other parent. So this is the parent generation. So this gamete fusing with the other gamete, it will produce capital A, small, right? Now, same way, this gamete can also fuse with this gamete, one from each. It will produce again capital A, small a. Assume again this gamete, which is now this gamete is done. It has possibility of combination of fusion with this, and this is done. Next, this gamete can fuse with this. Again, it will produce capital A, small a. And in other possible combination, this gamete can also fuse with this gamete, that is capital A, small a, right? And if you look at the F1 generation now, right, that is the offsprings of the parent generation, they all have same feature. They are all heterozygous and axial because there is presence of dominant phenotype in each of them, which will get expressed. So they will be all heterozygous dominant. Correct? All F1 generation will be heterozygous dominant. Now, if in these F1 generation, if you do brother-sister cross refers to from one particular generation, there will be certain males, there will be certain females, and if you cross them, or in case of plants, what we call them as self-pollination, because the male gamete is of the same plant, female gamete is also of the same plant. So that is what is brother-sister cross in plants, that is self-pollination. So let's assume we are taking one individual from this, either of, we can out of 4, we can take any, that will be still same. Let's say we took this. Yeah, it can be 1 and 2 or 2 and 3 and 3 and 4, any random you take. They are, because they are same, and they will have again 25. Sorry, now this will be fused together. So 25 of these, 25 of these, it makes 50 plus capital A small a. So in all this, that is possible combination. Now let's say when these will produce the gametes, it will produce capital A, it will produce small. This will also produce capital A. This will produce small. Okay. These are the individual organism or individual species, and these are the gametes when they will split up. So again, this will have 50. It will split 25 plus capital A, 25 plus small. Same here. It will have 50. And it will also produce 25 plus, again 25 or 50, these are the hypothetical numbers in terms of number of total chromosomes present in the Pisum sativa. 25 plus capital A, 25 plus small. Now this cross will give us, or you can even put a cross here, that's okay, either of these, when this possibly combination, one gamete of one parent at a time. So this combination will give us capital A, right? Then this gamete can fuse with the other gamete, that is capital A, small a. The other possibility with this is done now. It can only fuse once with this, once with this. The other possible combination is this gamete fusing with this. It will produce capital A, small a. Now you might wonder, I am writing, so now I am not writing the small a first, but I am writing capital A first, because dominant we always write first. So even if this is the male gamete, it doesn't matter. If it is coming from female, assuming this is a female plant, we will still write the dominant first. And the last possible combination of this gamete of first parent with the second gamete is both small alleles. Now, if you look at this is called as F2 generation, right? Parent fused their offspring, they were F1 generation. F1 generation crossed with cell will produce F2 generation. This is axial flower, right? Because homozygous dominant alleles. These are heterozygous dominant. That means something same like your F1 generation, and they will also be axial flowers. This one will be terminal flower because right? Because both of the alleles they are recessive, and it will produce all terminal flowers. So that is what is called as monohybrid process. We took one trait, that is of the flower position, where the flower is present either axial or terminal, and we are looking at what phenotypes are generated across the generator. These will be called as genotypes. The genes present and the express characteristic because of the genotype will be called as phenotype. So here the genotype is capital A, that is homozygous dominant, and the phenotype is axial. Here the genotype is small a, which is homozygous recessive, and the phenotype is terminal flower. In these cases, the genotype is capital A, small a in all the cases, which is heterozygous dominant, and the phenotype is these will all be axial flowers, right? That is the phenotype. In F2 generation, there are different genotypes and different phenotypes. In this case, genotype is capital A, phenotype is axial. In this case, both the cases, genotype is capital A, small a, that is heterozygous dominant, and the phenotype is axial. In this case, the genotype is small a, that is homozygous recessive, and the phenotype is terminal. Terminal. Okay. Any question here? Have you understood this possibility? We are going to see two more examples of the same monohybrid cross, so which will explain quite in detail everything that you need to understand for the monohybrid cross. But as of now, does anyone have any question? Or shall I assume this is understood by everyone? Yati, Miss Yati, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Understood?
Yes, sir.
So
Sort
can
of.
I ask questions to all of you then?
Yeah, I guess.
See, people, again, like I said, if you have any doubt and if you are not clarifying, it is not going to be helpful at all. It's best that you say, I did not understand, please explain. That will be still far better option. Okay, so then I assume all of you have a clarity of this particular case one, that was like showing a particular phenotype. Now, if you look at this particular statement, when these hybrid plants from F1 generation were self-pollinated, that is F1 cross, in that case, they produced F2 generation. Obviously, they produced F2 generation with axillary flower and axillary flower as well as the terminal flower, but in the ratio 3:1. Now, if you look at the phenotypes that even we had done on the board, there will be 3 axial flowers or axillary flowers, and there will be only 1 terminal flower. That means the ratio of them is 3:1, and that is what it means by the statement. And there were obviously visible forms, that is called as phenotype. Now, the one with terminal flower in the subsequent self-pollinated F3 generation. So, one with the terminal flower, that is the homozygous recessive one, small a. That one, when it was self-pollinated in F3 generation, it produced all the terminal flowers only. Now, what does this mean is, like, let's say this phenotype, which is shown here at the last from F2 generation, that is terminal flower, these alleles are small a. When it was self-pollinated, that means small a crossed with small a. When it was crossed, it always produced terminal flowers and not any of the axial flower. The reason being, this is the purest breed now. But it was lost, that purest breed was not found here, if you see, because it was all heterozygous. But the parent generation had it, and only F2 generation had it. So these were the two. F1, it was lost because of the mixing of the gametes. Right? I hope you are following these statements and also the processes. In F1, there was no homozygous recessive which was present in the parent, that is small a, and it was also present in F2 generation. So that way the gametes keeps passing on the next generation. So that is the Mendel's experiment, and in the first case. So again, the same thing is being shown here, just in a different format. Again, we need not look at this particular part, but what's most important is here in this box which is shown. Capital A, axial, that is homozygous dominant. Capital A, small a, heterozygous dominant, showing axial phenotype. Capital A, small a, again heterozygous dominant, heterozygous, both different allele. So heterozygous dominant showing axial phenotype, and small a, homozygous recessive, showing the terminal phenotype. Genotype, if we are calculating, if you look at the genotype ratio, that is the feature of the gene or the feature of the alleles that are present, we have one capital A, we have two capital A, small a, and we have one small a, small a. So the genotype ratio in this case is 1:2:1, and the phenotype ratio, what we have got is 3:1. So if you look, there are 3 axial flower and 1 terminal flower, that is the phenotype, 3:1. Genotype 1:2:1, 1:2:1. And this is what Mendel established. Now you take any random 2 characteristic of the pure breed individuals, they will show you the same phenotypic ratio and the same genotypic ratio. Like I said, you take any random pure breed and assess it for one particular characteristic, that means for a monohybrid cross in parent F1 and F2 generation, you should get in F2 generation the same genotype ratio and the same phenotype ratio, and that is what Mendel has established in his experiment. So that is the case 1. So I guess we can do case 2 and case 3 in the next class, because they are also going to be of the same nature. But I feel for today it will be too much to go through all of this at one go. So let's take a stop here. I will take questions from you if at all you have it. If not, then we will stop the class here. Does anyone have any question? I know I have been speaking a lot throughout. So